Today we will discuss about the crosstalk of mechanical and biochemical signals. In the previous video we have understood one example where we have seen that how these integrins, when they interact with the extracellular matrix, leads to the change in the conformation, and that will trigger the biochemical changes within the cells, or in more simpler term, that will trigger some different signaling pathways that usually doesn't get activated if those integrins are not interacted with the extracellular matrix or fibrils. So here is a general flow diagram how this crosstalk is usually happens. So this is the mechanical cue, which is usually comes from the extracellular matrix, and that when they interact with the cell surface proteins, then it will cause some kind of changes, and such as conformational changes that we have seen in the case of integrin in our previous video. And those conformational changes will trigger this biochemical cue within the cells, or in other terms it will trigger the cellular signaling pathways, change in the cellular signaling pathways, such as we have seen that the stretching of ectomycins that triggers whenever the integrins they interact with the cellular matrix. And those biochemical cues might cause several changes within the cells. It might cause it may cause change in the shape of the molecules, or conformational changes of the molecules, or the epigenetic changes. In some cases, epigenetic changes means that some of the genes might get downregulated and some of the genes might get upregulated based on the biochemical cues that get triggered. And this might even cause to acquire this ECM or MEC. ECM or ECM means epithelial to mesochemical characteristics, or mesochemicals to epithelial characteristics, which is which is common in the cancer cells, as they are usually in the intermediate state, and they can acquire both the characteristics. That is, when they need to migrate from their primary site to the secondary site, they acquire this EMT characteristic, that is epithelial to mesochemical characteristics, and when they reach to the secondary site, they again switch back to mesochemicals to epithelial characteristics, and then spread cancers at that area or at that location. So once this cellular signaling gets triggered, what it will does is it will provide a feedback loop as the change in the cells occurs, and that change either be in the form of shape, or in the form of release of some cytokines, and that can interact further with the ECM, or we can say the in the vicinity of the cells, and those cytokines might further accelerate this mechanical cue interactions, or down regulates this mechanical cue interactions. So this is how the feedback that they receives feedback the mechanical cue receives from the molecules or cells and tissues. Molecules in the form of like cytoskeletons, changing the cytoskeleton shapes, and cells and tissue, for example in the cell positioning, whether they are migrating or they are acquiring the epithelial characteristics. And and it is not necessary that one mechanical cue will only generate this one kind of biochemical cue. This feedback The feedback signals might even cause changing the mechanical cue in a way that it will trigger other signaling pathways also, and that will cause, or that will trigger a cascade effect, as and that is one of the things that are usually happens in the interactions of cancer cells with the tumor microenvironment. And tumor microenvironment not only act as a physical barrier to prevent them from the immune attack, or but it also helps the cancer cells to it also facilitates the cancer cells in proliferations and migrations. So this is just a basic flow map of the crosstalk between mechanical and biochemical signals uh, between the cells and the extracellular matrix. And so if you need to understand more about this topic in detail, you can go through the reference that has been provided in the description. That's all for this video. Thank you for your time.